Your Grace, my Lord, esteemed clergy members of the Church of Nigeria Anglican Communion, I count it a very big privilege to speak to you at this conference. And on that note, I am most grateful to the Dean of the Church of Nigeria, the Most Reverend Eyinda, for prompting me about 6 months ago that I would deliver on this topic. Psalm 11 and verse 3 says, when the foundations are destroyed, what can the righteous do? When the foundations are destroyed, what can the righteous do? And in my mind, I said, the righteous can do a lot. But before I proceed, I must apologize on behalf of the organizers that the synopsis of this paper is missing from the brochure of the conference. And it may not have been deliberate, but if I go with the words of the Dean, when he said in the morning that he had to soldier everybody to come under the tent to begin the day's proceedings. I want to say that I have not come here to soldier anybody, but for us to discuss the pertinent issues of security and how it affects the clergy, the congregation, and the people of Nigeria. Societies evolve every day, and contemporary challenges speed up the dynamics of societal evaluation. In the distant past, security of the state, the people, and territories, which is a key element of peace and progress, was the exclusive preserve of the state, its leadership, and associated agencies. However, slowly but steadily, security has lately become everybody's business. The conditions for the newfound human security paradigms readily testify to this aphorism. Consequently, the mandate for security now rests on individuals, communities, religious organizations, civil society organizations, and corporate entities as much as the state. This is more so in Nigeria, where lately security has deteriorated rather badly. The Church of Nigeria Anglican Communion, with 161 dioceses across Nigeria, can be said to be in all nooks and crannies of the nation. The church, the clergy, and the congregation have been victims in this disturbing phenomena of insecurity. Being the leadership and active management of the church, the clergy is saddled with overseeing, superintending, and managing the delicate and often challenging responsibilities of keeping the church and its congregation safe and secure. The question to ask then is, how is the church really affected by insecurity? Alternatively, and in accordance with implied responsibility, the pertinent question is, how does the church, and indeed the clergy, contribute to improved security to the community and the congregation? These are not rhetorical questions, considering the state of security in Nigeria today. The Church of Nigeria, therefore, has taken this challenge to consider the presumed role of the clergy. I'm therefore happy and privileged to contribute to this discourse by spearheading this topic, the clergy and security challenges in Nigeria. This afternoon, my aim is to examine the roles of the clergy in furtherance of the security of the church and congregation in Nigeria. And I intend to achieve this aim by covering some conceptual definitions, talk a little about the state of insecurity in Nigeria. We now look at the role of the clergy and profile a way forward for improved security. Now to conceptual definitions, and I start with the clergy. According to Merriam-Webster, the dictionary, the clergy is a group of ordained to perform pastoral or sacerdotal functions in a church. And according to Career Explorer, a member of clergy is an ordained religious leader who serves a specific religious community and is responsible to providing spiritual guidance, conducting religious ceremonies, ministering to the needs of their followers, and they are involved in community outreach, social justice, advocacy, and charitable work. The typical roles of the clergy, I will have said as shown on the screen, but some of us are not seeing any screen in front of us, will therefore include worship and spiritual leadership, pastoral care and counseling, religious education and teaching, community engagement and advocacy, leadership and administration, continual learning and professional development. Let us now look at security. Security traditionally refers to the ability of the state to utilize the elements of power to protect its statehood, territories, and peoples from real or perceived domestic and foreign threats. This definition is dominated by a physical dimension of security. A contemporary security paradigm is human security, which is a departure from traditional security and is state-centric. Human security is people-centric, focuses on the welfare of the individual, the people, and the community instead of the state. And there are some elements considered for human security, namely personal security, community security, political security, economic security, food security, health security, and environmental security. Let's quickly look at each of these elements of human security. Personal security refers to the state of being safe from danger or harm. It is the protection of oneself and one's property from threats such as theft, violence, or more recently, cyber attacks. Community security is a people-centered approach to addressing insecurity that integrates human security, development, and state-building paradigms. It works by bringing together a wide range of state and civil society actors from the security demand and supply side to identify root causes of insecurity collectively and develop coordinated responses to them. The next is political security. Political security refers to a state in which the political regime, political system, political order, and ideology of a country are free from threats, prejudices, subversion, and destruction. Only yesterday, and in fact day before, we had people carrying Russian flags during their protest, and you can see how the government has responded. Next is economic security, and it talks about financial security, which is a condition of having stable income or other sources to support a standard living now and in the foreseeable future. It includes probable continued solvency, predictability of the future cash flow of a person or other economic entity, such as a country, and employment security or job security. What about health security? This is a concept that encompasses activities and measures across sovereign boundaries that mitigates public health incidents to ensure that the health of the population is right. Food security, part of the issues for the protest, is the state of having reliable access to a sufficient quantity of affordable, nutritious food. The availability of food for people of any class, gender, or religion. And finally, environmental security, which is the protection of natural environment and vital interests of citizens, society, the state, and from internal and external impacts, adverse processes, and trends in development that threaten the human health, biodiversity, and sustainable functioning of ecosystems and survival of humankind. Having said so much about human security, let us look at security architecture. Security architecture defines the institutions, instruments, and mechanisms that collectively drive effective and efficient delivery of the critical security functions. Prevailing literature is diverse on the specific elements or constituents of security architecture, but in this presentation, I'm applying 6 of them, which is security decision-making systems, security instruments, talking about rules and regulations, security early warning, security resources, security response mechanisms, security performances, and measurement and evaluation. Having given all these definitions, are there any relationships between the clergy and security? And I say yes, there is a relationship. The clergy speaks to the individual singly and as part of a community to promote the word of God, spiritual understanding, godlike character and living, as well as peace and harmony amongst all men. This value stems from the responsibility of the clergy to provide communities or promote communities so that the church, or better still, the community and its members are free from fear and want. These values resonate with the mandates of human security, which seeks and indeed promotes the welfare, well-being, and happiness of the individual and the people. Indeed, while some of the roles of the clergy speak to improving the overall well-being or human security of the community, others imply more specific physical security-related functions, particularly in the areas of improving the security architecture. Therefore, our hypothetical statements are that The overall environment or atmosphere for community security can be improved by the effective performance of the general duties of the clergy. And the security of the church and its congregation can be improved by the establishment of a more effective security architecture in the church. Now let us consider our contemporary security situation. Nigeria faces their national security situation occasioned by historical, sociological, political divisions, geostrategic factors of insecurity, information revolution, and poor governance. Some of the more dominant manifestations of insecurity from the National Security Strategy of 2019 are terrorism and insurgency occasioned by violent socio-political extremism. We have that in the northeast, and pockets of it has covered most parts of the country. We have pastoralist and farmers clashes, which are seemingly being downplayed at the moment. We have militancy and separatist agitations. We have armed banditry and kidnapping from ransoms. And all of these, including transnational organized crimes, piracy and sea robberies, cyber crimes, social political threats such as poverty and unemployment. We have seen all of it. We have also seen the effects of fake news and hate speeches caused by hetero-religious differences. We have seen environmental threats and environmental pollution and climate changes. We have seen public health threats such as epidemics and pandemics. And we have seen economic threats caused by infrastructure, vandalism, crude oil theft, and corruption. And most of all, food insecurity, which is the basis for saying there should be a protest for 10 days. In all of this, there has been impact on the congregation of the church. And all of those things that I mentioned earlier have impacted the church in one way or the other. We have had situations where priests have been kidnapped and ransom paid to get them released. We have had situations where priests have been killed even after paying ransom. We have had situations where a bag of rice, which used to be about 40,000, is now beyond the reach of the average person who could buy it before, because it is more than 100,000 naira and the likes of them. And more recently, the issue of fake news, where stories that are not correct are being pushed to the public domain to cause disaffection. What can we say would be the way forward to assist us in overcoming all of this? And this I will take from, again, the National Security Strategy of 2019. And I'm listing them to say that promoting national unity and peaceful coexistence is one. Promoting Nigeria's prosperity and national development. Promoting Nigeria, her people, territories, and her values. And promoting Nigeria's regional and international interests, all encapsulated into that national security strategy. But how specifically can the clergy contribute to this? So we look at the roles of the clergy, starting with the traditional roles. We're saying the clergy will continue to preach love and peace amongst the people. They will continue to set and live by good examples according to the Word of God. They will promote moral education, civic education, and ethical values. They will promote interreligious dialogue and understanding. The clergy would also promote inter-ethnic understanding, communications, and engagements. And I'm happy in most dioceses you have this national harvest where people from every creed, every tribe will come with something. They will dress in their attires. They will share the food specific to their areas for bonding. Then the clergy would also promote social communication strategy, social tolerance, anti-corruption, equality before the law and before God. They will promote political communication strategies. They will promote democracy and democratic values, rule of law, human rights. At the end of each year in February, the church conducts election into certain positions for the running of the affairs of the church. And there's also the synod year where elections are conducted to bring in people that would assist to administer the church. The clergy would also facilitate human development through education, skills acquisitions, employment, and encourage self-employment. Now, let us look at security-specific roles for the clergy. And I start with security decision-making systems. The establishment of a system and structure for security decision-making is very paramount. Depending on the nature and scale of security breaches or perceived threats, decision-making may be extraneous or local, but execution must be local. This means that each branch must have, or each parish must have a small group comprising of the clergy and the laity, and perhaps some select external resource persons, but the pinnacle are the leadership of the local church to make important decisions on security, meaning there should be a security committee in every parish, but taking instructions maybe from the diocesan. And when the diocesan have passed the instructions, the parish is to localize such instructions to fit their own situations. Then we talk about security instruments. And in this wise, the clergy would need to develop rules and regulations guiding the conduct of the church and its members in the delivery of the security functions. These rules may include security consciousness, occasions, and conditions of insecurity, security response tips, the do's and don'ts of security, and relationships with other security agencies and entities. This is also very important because if you already have a decision-making system, meaning you have identified people who can help to educate your congregation on issues of security, both within your parish and within the immediate environment of your parish, such that the little guides that they, or the little tips that they will need during any situation can be expressed and told to them. We have security early warning systems, and this is that the clergy needs to institute an organization and mechanisms for generating security intelligence in the community and a means of dismantling security early warning or disseminating security early warning to the members if and when required. So if we have set up that committee that is security biased, would have situations where they have sources of intelligence. Even the priest, you would localize your sources of intelligence such that from within the community, you will get information that will be useful to any critical periods in the life of the church. Next is security resources. The clergy must develop an overall resource endowment for security. These are to include security personnel, equipment, and other materials, finances, and the practice security know-how and routines. Most of our churches have handheld scanners, for example, because of the heightened cases of insecurity before now. So those scanners are very important in situations where somebody knows that there is a scanner around the church. It would, of course, think twice before coming because it will be detected. So there are more of deterrence materials. You have under vehicle viewers to look under the any vehicle that is coming into the premises of the church or the vicarage, for example. So at every time, some of this equipment must be available to the church. Nobody should say that security can and should be done without some form of equipment at any one time. In fact, above all, churches should endeavor to have CCTV cameras such that nowadays you can get a CCTV camera of about between 3,000 and 5,000 naira that uses solar and is on the monitor can be on your phone, and by that anything that is coming to us or to cause any harm to the church would be seen by you, and you can take immediate steps with the security committee as established. The next is the security response mechanisms. The clergy need to develop an organic group dedicated to security responses as well as mechanisms for such responses. Importantly, the clergy need to mobilize the local church as a matter of utmost urgency to establish and sustain a working relationships with statutory and non-statutory security agencies and entities in the locality for speedy, effective responses in the event of a security breach within its jurisdiction and capacity. Otherwise, immediate and prudent escalation along the church and security hierarchy is always advised. So, when we have a security response mechanism, it means that the priest in a local area and the DPO, for example, have a relationship. Means you can press a button and the DPO will respond to you. If you are staying around an area where there's a military barracks, you have made friends with them in that barracks such that at the press of a button, you can get help when it is required. Now, let us look at the last, which I consider also very important, and that is security performance and measurement and evaluation. Having taken all that I've said, security response mechanisms, security resources, decision-making systems, you would need to harness all of this and from time to time develop a system of periodic performance measurement and evaluation for all these elements of the security architecture which I've listed earlier, so that you can look at that will give you an access to review your security preparedness and the outcomes. The performance measurements and evaluation reports are to be applied recursively to improve the security delivery in the local church. So you would decide whether you want to do it quarterly or annually or half yearly. And at the end of the day, there can be some level of coming together at the diocesan level to review the actions and preparedness with regards to security. I will conclude by saying that adopting a pragmatic approach to the pursuit of issues of security is a whole society function. There is no one jacket fits all approach to these issues. The clergy must be at the forefront to guide the membership of the church in every circumstance, before breaches occur, when they occur, and in its aftermath. And I pray that the Lord will keep us secure at all times and make our foundations solid. I thank you for listening.
Let us appreciate that powerful lecture. Please celebrate this distinguished personnel for this very important lecture. Sir, the Rear Admiral SEGUN ADEBARI, retired, we appreciate you on behalf of our primates and our bishops and archbishops and the General House of Clergy for that powerful delivering. The Lord bless you in Jesus' name. Quickly, we can hear very clearly that from this lecture, it has been so apt and timely. Security is the business of everybody. In fact, it has become a sequel that everyone should begin to consider, looking at the various levels of insurgencies, insecurities staring at us as a people. And I've been told that the clergy has so much to do. In fact, I was so fascinated by the aspect that says the clergy should ensure preaching of peace, ensure unity, and bringing people together to ensure that these issues are tackled. We shall now begin to look at some questions. I know minds are putting together some questions. So please, if you have some questions, just write it down and send it to us here now. But as we do that, we give room to one or two persons. Our Archbishop and Chairman of this celebration, he has given us indication. Please, the microphone.
Thank you very much for wonderful delivery. I have two questions. In line with the topic, maintaining Anglican heritage and identity in times like this. Presenter, sir, acknowledging your profound paper, I would like you to kindly help me to link, because you said so many things about security that I have learned today: human security, political security, food security. What about doctrinal and ecclesiastical security in times like this? I would like a connection between your paper and doctrinal and ecclesiastical security. And number two, with regard to those of us that are coming from the north that are facing issues of bandit and so many things that terribly comes, Jesus told us, when you are striking one cheek, turn the other cheek. But what can we do in terms of security when these hoodlums come, not seeking for our cheeks, but for our soul? And soul is one, not two. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. Then number two question.
Thank you, sir, for the lecture. My question is, in this area of insecurity, in terms of well-governized calculated intentional insecurity targeted to the priest or the pastor in a particular area, what should be the reaction of such a pastor when you know that the insecurity is well programmed and intended towards taking the lives of the workers or the pastors in that environment?
Noted. Okay, we have some here. Owing to this lecture just delivered, the question is self-defense allowed for the clergy or the church? Is self-defense allowed for the clergy or the church? Another is there a platform either nationally to monitor or report activities of security personnel that are not accepted? Is there a platform to monitor or control or report the activities of security personnel that are not accepted or that are illegal? I think that should be the mind of the writer. Then the last here is the writer did not do a clear writing. Okay, it's not relevant. Thank you. Over to you, sir.
I thank you very much for your responses through these questions. First, you talked about linking doctrinal and ecclesiastical issues in security. As lay as I am, I tried to give the roles of the clergy in terms of security. First, I had said that you preach peace and you bring all men together under one umbrella. So that is enough for you to know that God, in his infinite mercies, have ordained you to bring people under one umbrella, and therefore you are to teach them in the way of the Lord. So, security itself is covered with regards to doctrine, and you must be able to bring the people to know God. And when they know God, the tendencies to do evil will be reduced. Now, talking about banditry, I want to say that for every community, there is like a vigilante group in most of the northern communities nowadays. So, community-based action groups are encouraged to provide early warnings with regards to movement of persons or groups of persons that are with intentions. And that's why I said you must have an intelligence group in your church as part of the security community, security committees that you have established to guide your security decision-making systems. Now, to the security of the clergy. I had also mentioned that for each parish, there should be a security committee. If you have a security committee, there is no way that amongst 12, there will be a Judas, and then there will be somebody that can whisper to you that you are not doing well, and you need to change your ways, and this is what is coming to you. So I want to say that as clergy, please behave like a clergyman. For self-defense, in Abuja, for example, Some of the churches have dogs which they release at night. So, and if you have security men that are very vigilant, they will be able to apprehend those who want to infiltrate your church and cause harm. A case in point, one early morning, some individual entered the Cathedral Church of the Advent in Abuja and claimed he had come to sleep. And when everybody was asleep, he went to the vestry thinking that the collection for the night was in the vestry. And the security men, being very alert, saw the movement, heard the noise where he was trying to break the doors, and eventually he was apprehended. What happened to him after that, you can just guess. Thank you very much. And then the platform to monitor and control or report military or security agents that you think have committed breaches. That is why I said that you must, as a parish clergy, know the security agencies within your environment. If you have established rapport with the divisional police officer, you can report the police officer in question. If you have members of your parish who are in the security services, you can report such persons. And of course, it can climb up to the diocese, and where the diocesan himself have contact, and these reports can be made to the agencies that will take specific actions against such persons. But above all, I would encourage that every parish is part of the community-based action groups in their areas. Thank you very much.